Conversations with Garmamie. We are here on a Sunday morning, and I'm joined by Kaulin Oliver. How you doing, Kaulin?
I'm doing great, brother. How are you feeling this morning?
I'm doing great, man. It's early in the morning. It's about 8 a.m. on a Sunday morning here in Ottawa. And did you watch the fight last night, UFC 214, Jones versus Cormier?
Oh, I missed the main event. I started to watch the, what was the fight before that one?
It was
the Jiujitsu guy versus...
Damian Maia versus Woodley.
Yes, I watched up to the second round, and I saw Woodley just dominate Damian Maia.
Yes.
And I did watch Cyborg knock out...
whatever her name is.
Whatever her name is.
Sorry.
No, but I was gonna Google or internet what happened during the Cormier Jones fight.
So you for real you didn't see
I didn't see it.
I believe it was round number 3. So Cormier, Jones threw a head kick.
Okay.
Rocked Cormier. Unfortunately, Cormier backpedaled, spun around, right in the corner, and of course John Jones went ape shit when it got on top, ground and pound finish. It was a very impressive fight.
Okay.
Especially by Cormier, because Cormier was very aggressive, and he managed to land some serious hits and some serious blows. But it's John Jones, right?
He is definitely talented. Hopefully he can just stay on the straight and narrow and not get suspended again.
Let's see. You never know. I mean, we hope he doesn't, because he's huge for the UFC. But guess what? At the end of the match, he called out, he thanked Cormier, blah, blah, blah. And then he called out friggin' Brock Lesnar.
Really, eh?
Yeah, he called him out. He said, hey, look, man, why don't you fight someone that's 40 pounds lighter than you? And I mean, I don't know. Do you want to see John Jones versus Brock Lesnar?
As an entertainment factor, I would say, yeah, why not? Let's do this. That's what the UFC is basically turning into. So I'm not gonna knock gonna knock it. The man wants to take on a bigger challenge, a bigger name. I guess he wants a little bit of a payday.
Of course.
So yeah, let's make it happen.
Who do you think would win?
Jones.
Jones, eh?
Yeah, Brock's he's 50-50 most of the time when he fights, anyways.
I don't think he could handle someone like John Jones. But Kaulin, I just want to introduce you to some fans here. Obviously, they know who you are, but some people in other communities might not know. Kaulin Oliver is a professional wrestler. He's also a jiu-jitsu practitioner, and he's a track and field athlete. So you're a 3-sport athlete, maybe even boxing as well.
Yeah, we can put boxing in there too.
Yes. So tell us, why do you do all these sports and compete in all these sports?
I'm kind of addicted to challenge. I just love to training. I don't know, some people have a problem with going and getting in the gym and putting in that work. I love it. I started training other people as well. I just really enjoy just trying to see and improve my fitness. And then on top of that, I'm just addicted to being competitive. If I don't find outlets in athletics, I will turn on people. Sometimes I'm just kind of a high-strong individual, and I just love, winning and the challenge.
# winning. What is it about? So how long have you been doing track and field? You run the 400 meters, yeah?
Yeah, I'm going to be running the 400 meters in the Ontario Masters Track and Field Championships on the 5th in Toronto at Varsity Stadium.
How long have you been competing in track?
It's my first time.
Okay. Oh, wow.
Yes. Part of it had to do with the Ontario. It's kind of related. Ontario banning jiu-jitsu, so I was supposed to have a jiu-jitsu tournament with the Submission Arts United in Kingston.
Of course,
that folded. But at the same time, I was like, I want to try something different. I want to test my limit, and I decided, hell, I'm gonna go run in a track and field event against other people that have been doing this a long time, just to prove a point that athletically I can go toe-to-toe with anybody in any field of athletics.
Kaulin, that is friggin' fascinating. So you're saying because Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is now banned in the province, and you were going to compete, and you couldn't compete in that sport, and you crossed over into track and field.
Yes.
Now, do you have any experience in the 400 meters? Did you compete in high school or?
I ran a little bit in high school, nothing major. I was mainly playing a lot of football and soccer and hockey
Okay.
at the time. So it wasn't anything I really focused on.
Right.
But I've been training the last 4 months on this, and my 400-meter time right now is 57 seconds.
Okay, under a minute.
Yeah, I'm looking
awesome.
to medal.
Right on. You will, man. You will. By the way, what kind of training have you been doing for the last 4 months in preparation for this race?
I've been running. I run normally. Anybody in combat sports, should be running. I run around 20 to 30K on a regular basis, keeping that intense cardio up. And then I've been going to the Indoor Lions Club here in Ottawa, and I've been running 800-meter sprints.
Oh wow!
Okay. And the 400-meter sprints as well.
Right on. Do you find running helps your grappling game? Obviously, you mentioned that running is a key part to any combat sport, and now that you've zoned in and focused on a lot of running, have you seen the benefits of that for your other sports, be it boxing, be it jiu-jitsu or pro wrestling?
Yeah, I believe so, especially pro wrestling. And I'm also going to relate it maybe with the jiu-jitsu training and the boxing, but when I have taken time off from the pro wrestling world and I came back, and when I have come back with the intense training I'm doing, I have noticed that my athletic ability and cardio is definitely on another level compared to most of the other pro wrestlers in the industry. And I can just gas out many of them.
Really?
And I can just see that they're completely blown up, and then I kind of continue to push the pace on them a little bit more.
I saw your fight recently against the Spoiler.
Yes.
And
an unfortunate loss there.
Yes, but it was a great fight. I mean it was a great. The highlight for me as a fan watching it was, I think you had knee on stomach and you switched to on the left side for Jiujitsuka armbar, and I went nuts when I saw that, because I'm like, oh man, that was smooth as hell. And when I was watching that, and I know the Spoiler's a bodybuilder, right? The competitive bodybuilder from Hawkesbury. I'm like, you're gonna break his arm, right? You're gonna break his arm, but somehow he managed to get out of that.
Strong man,
big time. But can you explain that situation for us? Describe what happened there. You had knee on stomach.
Well, I had knee on stomach.
What was the intent with that?
The intent on that was honestly to try to embarrass him, because I knew that
humiliation.
I knew he wasn't going to be able. He didn't have the actual proper technique to roll out, and I knew I could probably just sit there all day and ride it, which is honestly something I have been practicing in class. Not really to embarrass people I'm rolling with, but I just love the balance of that position.
Yeah, you were very balanced with the knee on stomach. You had it on deep, and you seemed like you could have laid there the whole day.
Yeah, I do practice that just to keep that position. So I knew he wasn't going to get up, and I was just kind of doing it as kind of he's a big man, but yet I'm kind of in a vulnerable position. I didn't really have any posture on him. I just stood up, and I was just kind of moving with him a bit. I could just ride it out, and then I was like, all right, I've had enough of this, so I should probably I put an actual move on him.
All right, and you transitioned smoothly and very comfortably into an armbar. And this, of course, was a Great North Wrestling show in in Pembroke. Yes, but previous to that, I saw your match in Smith Falls for Cage Wars against another athlete from Hawkesbury, and you had at one point he switched to a waist lock, and you tried a rolling knee bar.
Yes.
Did you usually use a lot of rolling knee bars in your pro wrestling matches? Do you apply a lot of grappling in terms of submission-based jiu-jitsu and what have you?
Yeah, I definitely feel it gives me way deeper control with the competitors in wrestling, with my greater knowledge of holds and moves and positions. But yeah, that rollover was probably the first time that I hit that move. I guess I was watching some videos on it,
Sure,
but
sure.
you know, it incorporated in learning in class learning.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but yeah, he was a big man. You see me leaning quite a bit to get him because he was leaning the opposite way. But once he kind of let go for that split second, I was able to roll up underneath and get that.
You had the knee bar.
Yeah.
What's your favorite as a jiu-jitsu practitioner? And you've done no-gi as well.
Yes.
What, generally speaking, do you try to attack for a kimura, for a straight arm lock, or do you go for leg locks, chokes? What are your favorite submissions?
My leg lock knowledge isn't great, and to be honest, even when I get leg locks put on me, I do sometimes forget the defense.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a work in progress. I really like arm triangles.
Okay.
And I just always go for that. And we're talking no-gi. I love the bow and arrow lately,
yes.
but that's gi.
Yeah.
A lot of I've been working on a lot of transitions. Just always to get the back, which is kind of from one of my coaches, Brock.
Okay.
So yeah, try to maintain back control. Always try to get the backs and get the chokes from there.
Sure. For no-gi as well. For
no-gi, that's kind of my go-to. I always just try to eventually take the back, and then with gi, the bow and arrow, which is kind of off the same move. So you try to work your way to control the back, and then crank on the gi, which is the bow. And I don't know if obviously the jiu-jitsu people will definitely know.
Yeah,
the bow and arrow. It is painful to get that locked on.
It is. I mean, you'll tap right away. You don't want to. How would you escape the bow and arrow? Quite frankly, I mean, I've had it applied to me, and I've toughed it out, whatever the hell that means, and eventually, I did the right thing by tapping. But how would you escape
the basic technique? If I can describe this with a mic in my hand.
Sure.
So you want to grip the back of the shoulder and pull it in closer.
Okay.
And at the same time, kind of
switch over.
Yeah, roll your neck in. And eventually try to keep rolling tight, like climb your way up the person's back with their shoulder, and eventually you should be able to, in theory, sneak your head out.
That's interesting. Yeah. Maybe we'll see you apply the bow and arrow in a Great North Wrestling upcoming event or whatnot.
Someone has some sort of gimmick where they have an upper body jacket.
Yeah, I'm sure some people do. As someone who does all these sports, from boxing, from jiu-jitsu and to pro wrestling, in the pro wrestling mode, do you find having this jiu-jitsu background, how advantageous is it? I think you mentioned that it helps out as well as your cardio, but more and more pro wrestlers obviously are cross-training into various combat sports. And have you noticed that? Have you come across these sorts of competitors?
Rukin, another wrestler. He has started training jiu-jitsu, just gi.
Okay.
We had a quick grapple roll exhibition fight at the beginning of a C4 event.
Okay.
Wrestling promotion in the city, and so I was showing him a little bit. He doesn't really do the grappling no-gi so much, so he is a little off balance with it. But it's starting to bleed in a little bit more. On a realistic term, with the wrestling and jiu-jitsu, I would wish that a little bit more wrestlers would get into it, because I have found, because obviously the core of pro wrestling was wrestling, and the moves have, adapted and changed and become, kind of farcical hold of what they used to be.
Sure.
And I find that a lot of these wrestlers have lost the knowledge of what the real move is. So when they're doing things, I find that I can see what they're trying to do, but since they're kind of half doing things properly, I can definitely just go right in, take the advantage,
and exploit it.
And I just basically have been manipulating these wrestlers around the ring for the last, little bit.
Sure, that's very advantageous, is it not? To have that.
Yeah,
to
definitely. Yeah, you can definitely see. Like I said, they're in certain moves and certain positions, and then you can just topple them right over and basically control them.
Right.
You're walking them around because you're in control of the match the entire time.
Totally.
So you're not worried about getting injured because you can just snap someone's neck in a second.
Do you think fans that attend these shows, I'm sure a majority of them are huge mixed martial arts and sports grappling fans. Do you think they appreciate this almost going full circle and going back to traditional catch wrestling, the core aspect of pro wrestling and more of holding on to an arm? Or because if you look at pro wrestling from the early 30s and 40s, it's like people were working the arm for a 20-minute match, right? And I mean, as a fan, I can watch that now and still appreciate it to a certain degree. Although we like variation and the diversity of styles. But do you think fans nowadays, the general pro wrestling fan, indie or what have you, do you think there's a greater appreciation for that chain wrestling? And
chain wrestling has always been popular, like the Jerry Lynn, Van Damme, classic ECW matches.
Sure.
I've always tried to emulate that style, even before I knew what I was doing. I just love those chains. I think what the fans appreciate is watching a wrestling match and seeing it as close to let's just admit that pro wrestling is not, it's not real. It's not. It's acting. There's play back and forth, but the fans love to see it as close to the real thing as they can.
Sure.
And they love the real moves and the nuances of the traditional, say, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu holds and takedowns. You just can't hold the moves. You can't just have like two guys in a stalemate holding each other. You have to. You got to make sure that it's about time, so you have to move on to the next spot as fast as you can, because it's about people's attention span. But I really do feel that everybody, from my perspective, listening to the crowd, I'm getting a lot of I call it Japanese claps, where they're. I could tell they're just they appreciate the move. I can tell they do.
I mean, like I mentioned before, even your transitions from the previous two matches I've seen, from the rolling knee bar to even knee on stomach control and switching to a Jiujitsu. I think at one point you had an arm almost like a anaconda, but you didn't roll for it, but you were just controlling, as you mentioned before. That stuff is in pro wrestling. As a fan myself, I love that stuff. You know what I mean? Because it's I have a bias. That's what I love to see. So I'm a big fan of your style, as I mentioned before, of grappling and so on. Can you tell us why you took some time off from pro wrestling? I have seen you wrestle way back in the day for UWA.
Yes. I was doing the pro wrestling for many years. I've been away from the industry for about say 6 years. I initially, you probably can't see that on camera, I broke my wrist. My thumb bone blew up in a frog splash off the rope.
Wow.
So I had to have surgery where they took bone from my hip, turned it into a thumb bone. It literally took a year for the bone to heal.
Wow.
And fuse together because there's so many tiny bones in there. So that on top of going to school, taking business marketing, a long-term relationship, I just fell off. But from there, that's where I started training at Awama, and then I trained at Final Round Boxing, went to Beaver Boxing, back to Final Round, back to Beaver. And then eventually ended up over where I am now with Ronin. Did the boxing with the Celtic Hammer.
Yep.
And now I'm with Team Ronin. And so I just had many years of honing this the craft and gaining a I guess small reputation in the city as a fighter.
Sure.
And I decided one day that I have this base knowledge, and I wanted to come back and prove myself in this pro wrestling game. That even though I've taken time off, that athletically, I am an unbelievable physical athletic specimen.
There you go. There you go. Is there anyone in pro wrestling in particular, regionally, that you want to slap around and body slam and choke out, or put on an arm bar or rolling knee bar or heel hook?
Not necessarily to hurt.
Of course not. But I mean, is there someone locally that you want to challenge?
Yeah, I have some people that I definitely want to wrestle. Like, I would love to get in the ring with former trainer and UWA owner, the Cornerstone, Dave Dalton. I've never wrestled him. There's some other people. There's a wrestler by the name of MVP Michael Von Payton. We've been in the city together for many years, and we have not stepped in the ring together.
Wow. Never ever.
And
okay.
It's it's kind of those people. There's a new cat named Derek Roy, who's making waves in the indie circuit from Ottawa. Wouldn't mind. These are all just, I'm just saying, friendly,
sure.
matches. Not don't want to hurt people.
No,
I just think that I don't want to win, obviously.
Sure. Winning. You mentioned winning a lot. Why? What is it about? You're dedicated to competition and training.
Yeah.
What describe winning? What is winning for Kaulin?
Winning. All right. So obviously, I'm not afraid to lose. You should never be afraid to lose, and you learn from your mistakes.
Sure.
But the feeling of being victorious, that's a great feeling. Gives you great confidence. It's what you work for. You don't want to work to become number 2. You want to work to become number 1, and you want to keep working to become great. Obviously, there's different factors and injuries and age do cause winning issues.
Sure.
But for the most part, that's what you train for. That's what it's all about.
For sure. So you're a goal-oriented athlete. It sounds like it, obviously, and you're dedicated because you've been involved in all these sports for so long. Now, I remember hearing Dr. Bob mention, who's a local pro wrestling commentator. He mentioned that you have a chip on your shoulder. Okay, what is he alluding to? He says that you have a chip on your shoulder and that you are your own worst enemy, I believe. I'm paraphrasing.
I guess I walk around with a little bit of a chip. I can't really answer that so
Fair
much
enough.
in words. It's
Fair
probably
enough.
just something that comes off me. I just want. Yeah, I can't even answer that. It probably just comes off a little bit.
Is it that competitive spirit?
I would probably say it's that competitive spirit
Fair
when I'm in that zone. I don't. Yeah, I guess I would relate it to. I like socializing with the people I train with and this and that. But at the end of the day, everybody's a bit of a competitor to me. And I will always keep a little bit of a distance between me and my other teammates and people I'm working with.
Right.
I just don't want to give people that little bit of a soft spot advantage. I just keep that little bit of an edge to me.
Interesting.
At all the time. Whether that is works against me or works for me, that's just who I am. I'm not going to apologize for that.
And you shouldn't. Are you a fan of Machiavelli, the Prince? Are you a fan of?
Oh yeah, definitely. The name Kaulin Oliver Machiavelli, which is the Facebook tagline. Yeah, Machiavelli is just put together his book, The Prince, which is kind of basically writing of knowledge of war and how do I describe
a philosophy and an approach for combat.
Floors for combat
Right.
and competitiveness. But yeah, that's basically
And defeating the enemy.
Yes, that's basically where the Machiavelli comes from. It's just the name
Right.
of being competitive.
Do you apply Machiavellian principles to your grappling, pro wrestling, or 400-meter running games? Do you apply those principles?
Yeah, it probably almost bleeds into my everyday life
Really?
a little bit. Yeah.
Damn. This man is dangerous. That's some dangerous shit right there, man. I wanted to know, so you injured your right hand, yeah?
Yes.
Then your thumb.
Mm-hmm.
And then you transitioned a couple of years after you transitioned into boxing.
Mm-hmm.
How was that? Was it an easy transition? I guess what I'm asking is, do you have full mobility of your thumb, or is there still some issues?
Well, the wrist itself doesn't fully move all the way back.
Okay.
But obviously for boxing, you're hitting with a straight fist
Right,
anyway.
right,
so
right.
there's no problem with that.
As far as grappling goes, are there any limitations, or are you right-handed?
Yeah, I'm right-handed. I do box left-handed though.
Oh, okay. There you go.
But-
Because of that, or just you naturally?
I just played both. Like I
Okay.
played hockey, I shot left-handed. Baseball, I batted right-handed. It's kind of back and forth.
Man, that's some Machiavellian stuff right there. I also was wondering, as someone who's been involved in the local Ottawa wrestling scene, on and off for different periods of time. How would you describe for people who haven't attended any pro wrestling shows and what have you? How would you describe this local Ottawa Gatineau pro wrestling community, if I can use that word?
Yeah, it's definitely a community, or the scene.
Sure,
community scene.
the scene.
It's great. Everybody's really like close and close knit. It is like this extended family. Obviously, there's certain wrestlers that are coming in from, Toronto or Montreal, but everybody seems to be quite, connected and close to each other.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, it's a small little community, small little scene. The wrestling shows in this city are spectacular. If you want to just go out, get drunk, and yell absurd obscenities,
Sure.
and just let loose. You can become part of the show. That's the whole point. Just go out there, go nuts, and have a great time, and just fall into the show that is pro
Wrestling, big time. Yeah, I think Ottawa is certainly a city like Ottawa, a government town, a quasi-conservative town. I think benefits a lot from having this outlet as fans, pro wrestling that is. Now, speaking of boxing, we were talking about boxing before. Are you following this whole Mayweather versus McGregor thing?
Oh yeah.
Who's your money? Who you betting on? Who do you think is going to win?
I have no idea. I'm looking at this as I try to, like, obviously there's a lot of people that are just looking at it through the hype, quasi, I'll say pop culture fans. I spend a lot of time analyzing every aspect of what these guys are doing, and then I try to relay that info to people. I don't know who to put my money on. You have Connor, who definitely has some sloppy boxing habits. I've been watching his footage, and when he steps to the right or the left, he always drops his hands. I watched Mayweather's recent training footage, and you can tell he's old, and he does not want to be training.
Oh, really? You can sense that?
I can sense that. I just watched one of his videos, and he's getting his pump on, and he'll be like,
right.
I just mentally I can find he's not in there.
Really?
Which could be dangerous.
Because the other guy, he's mentally.
McGregor is.
He's fired up, man.
Yeah. You have one guy that's 100% mentally in there, but he's got sloppy habits.
Right.
And you have one guy with sound habits that's not mentally in there.
Right. That is interesting. The dichotomy there, right?
And then plus you have Mayweather, who is obviously dealing. I think he's having more fun with the promotion.
Sure. Who Mayweather?
Mayweather. I think that's where he's having fun with this, and that's where it could be dangerous because he could mentally slip in the middle of the match, and that's when he's going to get connected. But if he's focused and his defense is good, but I also saw one of the interviews where he was talking about age.
Yes.
And he's like, well, my movement isn't as good. My reaction time isn't as good. It was funny. One of the reporters, the question, he's like, are you using that as an excuse?
Huh.
I was like, and the Mayweather's response is pretty, casual, but I was like, is this reporter? Like, what's wrong with this guy? Obviously, no athlete who's gotten older, their stats have never gotten better.
Right. That's true.
So, and it was just that comment alone by Mayweather talking about his age. He's just like, I don't think he cares about the loss as much as everybody else around him cares about the loss.
Who, Mayweather?
Mayweather. I don't think he really cares if he loses.
That is interesting.
He's just like, I'll make $300 million if I get a loss on my record.
Pay off my taxes.
Yeah, I'm not in this sport anyways anymore.
Right. He did retire. He retired, and he was brought back due to this opportunity. What would you tell McGregor in regards? So you've identified that he drops his hand whenever he steps right. I believe you said.
Yeah, he boxes left-handed. So
right.
I find any time that he'll throw shots, and he'll move, and his hands will go with his body.
Oh fuck! You know what, man? Mayweather, I'm sure, is aware of all these weaknesses in terms of his movement, and he's gonna exploit them. But if he's not mentally in it, I think McGregor. I guess, what would you say his greatest strength? What is McGregor's greatest strength? Well,
obviously it's his strength.
It's his strength.
His strength is his strength.
As a striker or as an athlete or as
probably both. Like,
okay.
I've watched his workouts, and he's pretty intense. Like, well, I'm kind of getting older too, and he's a young, fairly young lad, so he's got a lot of energy. You can tell he loves training. But what was I about to say?
I was asking what's McGregor's greatest asset in terms.
Just his strength. I was gonna make one other comment about a fault that he does have in the Diaz fight when he was running for the entire third round.
Right.
His cardio is quasi questionable, which is another factor.
Because they only fight for MMA. It's really 3 to 5 rounds,
which
right?
makes, I think it equals out to around the 7th round, or even before that. So he lasted 10 minutes, so 3, 6, 9. Yeah, he lasted about 4 rounds in the Diaz fight, and then he started backpedaling because he had no cardio left.
And and the other guy is a friggin' cardio machine.
Exactly.
But he's older, as he said.
Yeah,
he's older, and age.
Yeah.
And age always impacts fighters. Now he's this is being billed as one of the biggest fights ever. Both of these fighters are going to make plenty of money. How much of this is as far as people are describing it as entertainment? People are describing, some go as far as saying it's a big circus, it's a farce. Comparatively speaking, is this the merger of sports and entertainment? Is this fight not more pro wrestling than, in the sense that it's a big event, and it's they've been drawing this story between these two athletes, and both of them are very bombastic, and they know how to quote unquote cut a promo, right? And sell the. How much of this is pro wrestling?
I think the way the UFC runs things is more pro wrestling. I think this is just boxing hype.
Okay.
That's what boxing does. That's what it's all about.
Right.
Ali and Foreman, I'm pretty sure if they did it in the modern era, it would be just as big of a spectacle.
For sure.
That's the whole point of boxing, is to draw.
Spectacle, that's the word. Yeah.
And, they have their press conference tours. No, I think that's what boxing is, or fights is supposed to be. You're supposed to gain the attention of an audience, and if you're drawing in new fans that weren't in that market, which this fight is definitely doing,
right.
I don't think that's pro wrestling. I think that's just marketing. That's promotion. That's what it's about.
And some people hesitate from the marketing. Some people are not comfortable for whatever reasons tooting their own horn or getting in front of a camera and doing what they need to do. Now, going to pro wrestling. Is there in your opinion, are people open to the marketing aspect of their genre?
Of pro wrestling marketing, I don't even think it's really a conversation that's ever come up.
Oh, really?
It's obviously the promoters want to promote,
right?
But even at that.
You don't think it's an issue in terms of at the independent level, or?
Yeah, it could definitely be improved. I just think it's a non-conversation. Like even the promotions in the city. Well, Great North Wrestling tries. They go and they spend some money on billboards, and he's definitely putting in work to get advertising out there. But even any independent promotion, they're just drawing on the fans, and they're going on word of mouth. That's pretty much it.
Which is always solid, right? For any event, be it a music event or what have you. Word of mouth is key. I meant more on the individual level, as in the athlete.
Oh, the athletes.
Yes.
Promotion of the athletes. Social media, a lot of them are starting to use it.
Sure.
I think there's definitely more outlets and better ways to,
get out there and
get your word out there.
Sure.
I've been dabbling with trying to get a little bit more into it now that I'm back in the sport. I do have a little bit of a background in it, so I'm trying to manipulate the social media network a little bit more.
Good for you, man. You've got that business background. Business
Market. So I'm definitely, and even this interview right now, I appreciate it getting my face and name out there.
Hey, man. Fight fans, if you're out there, you better come watch this guy and watch him apply some of his serious grappling skills. You know what I'm saying? Like as I mentioned, that armbar, knee on stomach. I was like, that was friggin' that was awesome. Hence why I'm interviewing you, quite frankly, because I saw that and I was like, I need to interview this guy. Now, you also compete in sports grappling.
Yes,
obviously. How do you balance between all these things, man? I mean, you seem like you're a busy guy. You're committed. You're dedicated to training. How do you balance between all these sports and life and all that stuff?
Well, that's a big factor. One of probably the main things that comes out of my friends' mouths are calling you need to relax. You need more time.
Maybe that's why you got a chip on your shoulder, because you're always, you know what I mean? You're always doing stuff, right?
Yeah.
You're pushing.
Yeah, I'm always pushing forward. I'm kind of a borderline high-strung guy, so I'm constantly pushing, trying to just get to the next thing. Time. I am an unbelievable time management. My life is very regimented.
Really?
Going into some psychology stuff for school. I actually had to do a bunch of psychology evaluations for I went back to school for a moment. But they said you have what's it called? A little bit of obsessive compulsive.
Interesting. OCD.
A little bit of OCD.
Yeah.
So my life is very, very regimented, and I become unbelievably perturbed when people put me off my schedule.
Really? Wow. Well, it's funny. I was supposed to interview you yesterday, was I not? And I apologize for that. Something happened.
It was okay. I got my schedule. I woke up early. I had to drop the lady friend off at a wedding. So.
Right. Oh, you weren't invited to the wedding?
No, she. No. Well,
I'm kidding. You don't have to. It's all good. It's all good.
It was good. I got to sleep in.
That's always good. Sleeping is part of the recovery process. Now you're back into the pro wrestling scene after taking some time off. What does it mean to come back and start? What does it mean to wrestle now? You've come full circle, right? You've dabbled you've competed in other combat sports and now as well track and field. Now that you're back in pro wrestling, I know you mentioned that you want to prove yourself yet again. But is pro wrestling your go-to sport? Is it your favorite artistic form of expression and combative form of style of fighting?
Maybe. Yeah, they're all pretty even. Wrestling is definitely an outlet. It allows me to. I wouldn't say it's more of a combatant thing, because I do struggle with I guess I call it kind of almost like Bret Hart syndrome, where you have to remember this ain't real.
Right.
It's all politics.
Sure.
And just because I show up in the ring and I do have all these legitimate skills,
sure,
I have to remember that it doesn't transition. I do struggle with that a bit, just being the best and wanting to like prove in the ring.
Sure.
So I struggle with that a bit, but I just love the fans. That's my thing with wrestling. Regardless of my problems with in the back room.
Sure.
Once I get in front of the curtain and I'm in that ring, the fans are who I care about.
Right.
And I just love getting a pop, regardless if it's a boo or a cheer. I do personally like the cheers better because I find going out there and being an asshole is a little hard on me.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I don't know why. I just don't. Well, I'm not trying to make anybody angry at me.
Sure.
I just don't know why. Anyways, I like.
Have you ever been attacked in the parking lot on the way out of a show?
No,
Not yet?
I haven't done that yet. That has not happened. I have honestly been in a one time in Quebec. There was this terrible promotion. And
terrible promotion.
And there was an honest-to-God brawl between the wrestlers and the fans.
Wow.
It turned into a riot.
That's awesome. That's not terrible. What are you talking about? No, I'm kidding.
No, but I didn't really get involved in it too much. I ended up, the wrestler I was fighting was unbelievably drunk.
Oh.
Actually,
the one you were fighting?
The one I was fighting.
Okay.
He was like 12 beers in before the match. And
isn't that legitimately very dangerous?
It is legitimately very dangerous. And I ended up kind of hurting him kind of badly in the ring because I was very angry at him.
Okay.
At one point I was on I can give you wrestling stories. I was on the ground and keep in mind that the whole show rioted because the wrestling was so terrible.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So
the fans are essentially saying, we're not impressed by this?
By this drunken buffoonery
wow.
that took place. Like, I was in the ring, and
fans have to hold the thing accountable, right?
Yeah.
They're there to regulate.
Yeah, you're there for the fans. That's the whole point. That's
Right,
like I said,
right.
that's what I'm out there for. I'm out there to entertain the fans.
Sure.
I love like you said, having making everything as real as possible, just because of the fans. I want the fans to appreciate it. But yeah, I want to just finish this story. I had this guy in a headlock, and all of a sudden, I hear the mat go like someone. I'm like, what's going on? So I turn around, and there's another guy with a piece of aluminum siding. And I'm like, holy fuck. And I like duck, and I tried to put my head below the other guy's head.
Right.
So he would take the brunt of this aluminum siding.
Wow.
And I just snapped.
Who is this, a fan?
No, it was another wrestler. I guess this is just some part of the show they wanted to have happen. This is how drunk everybody was. I was like, what the fuck? So I get up, I basically just stomped on the one guy's head to keep him down on the ground.
Wow.
And then I chased the other guy out of the ring.
Wow.
And then I gave him a couple licks, and that's when I basically went to the back room. And then, I started to change, and the next match went on. And
you got out of there.
And that's when the riot started.
What the hell? How did they break up that riot?
I don't know. I just walked right through it.
Man, that's crazy. That is crazy. And I'm guessing you probably don't work for that promotion.
Oh, no. I don't even know if they exist. I don't even know what they were called.
Terrible. What are they called? Terrible pro wrestling?
Terrible pro wrestling in Quebec somewhere.
That's, That's unfortunate that happened, but... you know what? I think I think fans know where to go see pro wrestling, and in this region, obviously, there are many promotions: Great North Wrestling, C4 Wrestling, Acclaim Pro Wrestling. There's so much variety, and it's great. I think it's great to have, different shows that have different styles. Now you're going to be competing on Saturday at the Masters, right, in Toronto for the Track and Field Masters. Yeah. And we want to wish you all the best with that. And I think in the afternoon or later on that evening, you'll be coming back to Ottawa for the Great North Wrestling Show on Saturday, August 5th. Check out their website. It's their 10th year anniversary. I believe you're on that.
I'll be on that card. I'll be hopefully winning a medal, driving all the way back from Toronto as a champion. And then I'll be stepping in the ring in a triple threat tag team tables match.
That's awesome.
Versus the Freak Nation.
Those freaks.
Bunch of clowns.
Bunch of freaks.
Bunch of freaking clowns.
Clown Nation.
And the Heartthrobs.
They're also a bunch of clowns. No offense. No
offense meant.
All the best to you.
All right.
Thank you very
my
much.
Friend.
Thank you.